All right, Jake, lots to get to as we recap the swimming championships down in Athens, Georgia. Talk a little football as well if you want to here in a little bit, and natatorium and all this good stuff. But second place finish down at the CCSAs. Give me an idea of the couple of days you spent down there and how it was.
Yeah, it was a great meet for us. We swam well. It was not the win that we wanted. Gulf Coast is good. They're tough. They benefit from a great diving program that they have. The good news is that, well, it's good and it's a little bit of pressure, but this is the last year that we can say that we didn't have diving officially. We're building the new natatorium. We're adding a full diving program. We're hiring a diving coach. I'm going through resumes as we speak, reading through cover letters, and we're going to hire a diving coach. So this will be the last year that we can say that we didn't have diving points to help us out at the conference meet. So we're excited for that. I'm excited for it. I love the pressure. There's no excuses now. We've got a new pool coming. We've got a full diving program. We'll have a full staff for the first time in our 7 years in program history, and I'm excited for it.
You did have some podium finishes down in Athens. Talk about some of the girls individually and how you did maybe in some relays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a great meet, and people look at the final score, and it doesn't look close. But the final score is a poor indication of how well we did swim, and we swam well. And we swim well every year. I mean, we've got a great program, and we train hard, we work hard, we taper well, we rest well, and we swam well. Alicia Finnegan won the 2 fly. We had Delia Weber won the mile, and then Brittany Weiss won the 100 back. So we had 3 wins. We had a lot of podium finishes. Victoria Choki ended her career with a second-place finish in the 200 backstroke, for example. Relays all did well. Every single relay was a podium finish, either first or second. So we swam well. It wasn't quite enough to overcome the 150 diving points that Gulf Coast scored. So when looking at the final results as far as points go, one needs to factor in the Gulf Coast diving points to really get a good indication of how close the meet was from a swimming standpoint.
Next up, NCAA Championships. Who's going to push to qualify, you think?
Yeah, Alicia Finnegan's 2 fly is going to be close, and we're going to a last chance meet back down in Georgia this weekend to give it one more shot. We're confident about it. We have a feeling, there's a feeling that she's going to have a good shot to make the meet in the 2 fly. It took a 157.0 to make it last year, and she was 157.0 this year. So if she goes 56.7 or 156.7 or 156.8, I think she's got a good shot to go.
Jake, you're one of the first interviews we've done since the announcement last week, NCAA honoring a waiver for Liberty to compete FBS as an independent. And your thoughts on that? You have come from the FBS before, and before taping this, you were really excited about the overall residue that's going to have in a positive way for everybody, not only in athletics, but around this campus.
Yeah, it's been said, it's been mentioned a few times, the idea that a rising tide lifts all ships. And football is the engine. Football is the tide. Football is, you look at all the top 25 swimming and diving programs. For the most part, by and large, they all have something in common, and that's big-time FBS football. Right. When you're trying to recruit the highest level of student athlete, any sport, doesn't really matter the sport, they're looking for that big-time experience. When I was hired here at Liberty way back in the summer of 2009, one of the qualifications that they were looking for in the first head coach of their swimming program was FBS experience, because those coaches understood, A, what it takes to build a top 25 program, and B, just the level and the atmosphere, the excitement, whatever you want to call it, of the FBS experience. And at Penn State, recruiting was somewhat easy. And I don't want to say it was easy. We put a lot of work into it. But I remember, for example, 2007, and Jimmy Clausen was at Notre Dame as their quarterback. And he was somewhat controversial, back in the day. And he was easy. Let us say that he was easy. It was easier for opposing fans to give him a hard time, per se.
He was the villain coming in,
He was the villain coming in. And we had a home game at Penn State, Happy Valley, in the fall of 2007 against Notre Dame. It was a whiteout. There were 110,000 people in the stands. And we brought top-level, high-level recruits in that weekend, and we got them. and we got every single one. They said, where do we sign? They were so thrilled after that football game and being on the field and just the overall experience of that, that FBS type high level. Now, Penn State is a high level. There's only one stadium bigger, and that's Michigan. But even 40,000 at a football game, when you're used to 20 or you're used to FCS football, is big. And so I'm excited to bring in some high level or even medium level FBS programs into the stadium and then take our recruits onto the field here at Williams and show them, 30, 40,000 people someday. Imagine BYU coming to Liberty. Imagine Army or Navy coming to Liberty. Reading the forums and reading some of the articles, these sports writers and so forth, they say it's going to be tough to schedule and it's going to be hard for Liberty. And with all due respect, come to our campus. Step foot on campus. Come see what we have to offer. You can hear the construction in the background. We're standing in the foreground of a beautiful indoor football practice field. We've got the pool in the background. We've got the indoor track. This is not an FCS school. It's not. We were an albatross in the FCS ranks, and maybe it didn't show with national championships or show with playoff appearances, but as far as the willingness, the desire, the ability, the ceiling, if you will, we're an FBS program. We're an FBS school, and we coach that way in swimming. I mean, we email the top kids in the country. We don't just take what comes from our recruiting questionnaires and try to recruit those student athletes. We go after the best kids in the country, and when we lose them, and if we lose them, we're losing them to Stanford and Cal and Tennessee and Texas and those types of programs. We're not losing them to the FCS schools of the world. So yes, I'm excited. Obviously Penn State was a great experience, and I got my feet wet there with big-time FBS, Big Ten football, and I'm excited for that for Liberty. It will make every program here better. It'll increase, just look at academics. Whenever Penn State had a good football season back when I was there, lo and behold, applications rose the next year. So, there might be people around campus that are questioning this decision because it's, we're going independent. Just from experience, let me say that it will be great. It will be better than we could ever imagine. And who knows, it might lead to a conference invite from an FBS conference sooner than we would have guessed. Maybe even within the 2-year transition process. Who knows? It's a lot easier to join an FBS league as an independent, as we know, than it is as an FCS call-up. And so I'm excited. It's going to increase our academics. It's going to increase, obviously, our athletics. It's going to increase recruiting for everybody, for every sport on campus. I could go on for much longer. I'll shut it off, but it's going to be a great thing. And to the people that doubt it, to the people on the message boards and the sports writers, we can do it. If there's one school that can, it's Liberty.
And if it's Christian, it should be better. So we're going to do it the best we can.
Well, and it's just it's the vision. It's what Dr. Falwell always wanted. People laughed at him when he started a Christian university and said, we're going to play BYU and Notre Dame. And, while we're not football, we swam BYU this past fall, and we beat them. And if you had told Dr. Falwell back in 1971 that he would someday have a women's swimming and diving program that would go out to Colorado, swim BYU and Air Force, and beat them, I'm not sure even he would have said, yeah, that's a possibility. I'm not sure how much he knew about women's swimming and diving back in 1971. The first women's NCAA championship wasn't until the 80s, early 80s. But that's what I'm talking about. Who knows where we're going to be in 20 years or 30 years, and it might be bigger than even I'm talking about right now.
It will be.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Jake. Appreciate your time. Have a great time coming up back in Georgia again, okay?
Thanks, Alan.